David. Good morning. You're joining my To Do About Something today, and I'm Donna. Well, I am in the house today, and I am concentrating on one of the things that really just brings me a lot of joy in my home and in my life. I love plants. You know that I'm a gardener. I've shared a lot of garden issues with you, and I've also shared some things about my house plants with you. Well, here in the dining area, I have all these little house plants that are kind of nestled up to this door right here, and this is where they get the majority of their sunlight. Now I got these two plants right here. I got this one and this one. Donald bought me after Christmas. He took me and we bought these little new plants. Now I've kept these plants separated away from my other plants just in case they had some kind of bugs, and I did not want them to bring in any kind of aphids or any kind of bugs in here on my already established plants. Now this one I've had to kind of fight the cats off. The cats have chewed right here, and they seem to love this plant. So I've had to be really careful and make sure that the cats stay off of this one. Well, now here are all the plants that I have usually have here in the dining area. And they're going towards that little door trying to get the light. I don't have a lot of natural light in my house, but I try to do the best I can with what I have. This is a Hoya that my mom gave me years ago with the heart-shaped leaves. I think that's so pretty. I've got a few snake plants, they're called, and then just a few other. This is an orchid cactus. But I try to keep these plants thriving as much as I possibly can. I've got a few things here that help me to do that, and I'm going to share them with you today. Now, these are some shears. This is a fork, and this is just a little rake. I think I picked it up at Walmart years ago. And one of the way I keep these plants looking good is I'll take my little rake or even a fork, and I'll kind of loosen the soil on the top of these plants, because you'll notice whenever you have house plants that the soil can form kind of like a hard cap, and it'll make it harder for the water to get down to the roots. Now, I'm not digging down into the roots. I'm not doing any kind of damage. Now, there's just a few plants that you can do this to. Now, this plant is to one side. It's got a lot of dirt left here. I put several rootings into this pot, and this one right here is the only one that made it. But it's going to be beautiful, and it'll eventually fill up this pot. I've got a monstera right here. I've got a tip for you for this monstera. I put in some coffee grounds, and it loves these coffee grounds. I've got a few stones in here that just helps to hold these plants in place, but wherever I can, I'll just take my little rake and break up the soil a little bit, so when I water these plants, the water will go down to where it needs to. Now, I've got an orchid. An orchid is a little bit different. It isn't just in wood chips here, and of course, I don't put any soil in that orchid. It's just the wood chips. Up here's the top of the Hoya. That monstera that's right here is reaching all the way over here. I've got this beautiful Christmas cactus. It's over here, and it's looking great right here. Got another little snake plant right here. Now, this Christmas cactus is so full in here that I can't really break the soil up there. But there's a few pine needles, because I set this out every year to get sun. There's a few pine needles that are here, and that helps to distribute the moisture, and it's doing just fine. It's not hurting it a bit. I've got another snake plant right here. I'll take my little rake and break up the soil. Gently, not hurting the roots. And then this is just in water. I've got this plant that's just in water. It's a really pretty plant. I hope it does good. This one's just being rooted in water right here. Now, after I've taken my little rakes and a little fork, you can use a fork if you don't have a rake. A fork will do the same thing to break up the soil, help the soil to get down there. Sometimes it becomes compacted in a house plant. This moves it around a little bit here and helps the water to get down into the soil. But a little rake that you can buy wherever they sell house plants or things for house plants, or a little fork, whichever you choose to use, they're great tools for just moving that soil around a little bit. Now, after we do a little bit of raking into the plants, I just go over them and see what needs to be taken off. There are many things, like this leaf. It has a bad place on it, and I'm not sure why this developed here. This plant is in water. If you can see right here, the roots down here, I've got it in a clear jug, so it's in water, and I'm not sure. This was a new leaf, and I'm not sure what damage is on here. This is a leaf that's striated. It's got a few leaves on it. I probably need to go ahead and get this into some soil, but I'm not going to take that leaf off because this plant needs what little bit of leaves it has here. It's just getting a start. But I am going to cut off this bad part. This bad part's not helping this leaf any. I'll put that in a bag. I'll pick that up. Then here's some things that are on this one. This is a dried up bloom that's on this plant. We can take that off. I don't see any dead leaves. I don't see anything that needs to be cut back on most of this. Most of it is looking pretty good. We got Cookie. He's wanting to get in on the action. Now I could go ahead and take this leaf off, since the cats have chewed on this leaf and it's a little bit rough looking. It would still give that plant some light, but I'm going to go ahead and take it off. And that's what I do. I just go through and whatever needs to be clipped off, whatever is dried up and not doing the plant any good, I go ahead and try to take it off. Clean it up a little bit, so to speak. Now, after I have trimmed up, I take this little container that I made out of, recycled it from a laundry detergent container. I like the handle on it, and I'm going to run some warm water and take a washcloth and put it in here. And I'm just going to take some mild soap. I've got Dr. Bronner's here. You can have any mild soap that you have on hand. Even a shampoo would be pretty good. This is eucalyptus. And that's what I've been using lately for the soap in this container. And what I do with this water is I just take it and wipe down the leaves. There'll be dust and different things that come from your house on your plants. And you can just take a mild soap and warm water solution and just wipe it down. I usually use 2 hands to do this, but I'm holding it with a camera. I'm holding the camera with one hand. And so gently just wash the leaves of your plants. Get the dust off of them so that they can go ahead and photosynthesize and do the things they need to do with the sunlight that's coming in. You can see right here's a new leaf coming on this plant. And I just gently wipe down the leaves of all these plants. You want to be careful. You don't want to do any kind of damage to your plants. And it gives you a good opportunity to look over the plants while you do this. Just to look over them. Make sure you don't have any kind of aphids or bugs or anything on them. Now I've got plants all over the house. These are some plants that are in the living area. And I do the same thing with these. I loosen the soil where I can down around. Then I take out what is not good. That's what is not living or viable. And then I wipe them down with a cloth. Then I've got the plants over here. Of course, this one has grown up through the lampshade, and I've got to do something about that. All of this is new growth from this plant that grew up through the lampshade, but I think it's so pretty. And then I've got all of the plants right here. That I do the same thing with. I loosen the soil with my little rake or my fork, and then I cut off or remove anything that's dried up or dead, and then I take a cloth and wipe down all of the leaves to get the dust and check for mites or anything that might be on the leaves, and remember to look up underneath your leaves. Make sure there's no pest or anything growing up underneath your leaves. And then I'll do that with all of the plants that I have. Now these plants cannot get nutrients unless I give them nutrients. There are some nutrients in the soil when they are repotted, but there's no way to replenish those nutrients inside of itself without some exterior additives, which is what I'll be doing when I water these plants today. Now here's a plant that I just have in water. I've trimmed off one of the other plants that I have, and I've just stuck it down in water. And what I do with these plants is I make sure that I refill and change the water in these plants often. Now getting back to the feed. First of all, I'm going to show you the different kinds of watering cans. Now plants can cost as little money as free. You can find free plants from people that are giving their plants away. You can find discounted plants or people that are cutting back their plants, and they'll give you cuttings. My daughter gives me plenty of cuttings. Or you can go to other fancy places and spend a lot of money on plants. Or you can go to different stores and look at their plant section and collect your plants that way. Plants can cost as much or as little as needed, as your budget allows. Now I've got this fancy brass watering can that I got at TJ Maxx, and I think it's beautiful. And I've got this one, I think I got it from the Dollar Tree, maybe for $1.25 years ago. And then here's a watering container that's free. It was recycled from laundry detergent. I washed this really good, and then I put it out in the sun and let it dry outside for a while, let the UV rays affect it, and this makes a nice watering can. Now that I've got my little plants dug up with a little rake or a fork, and I've trimmed off everything that's brown or dying, I am going to feed my plants. Here's an all-purpose plant food. I got this at Tractor Supply. I think they also have this at Lowe's Hardware. And this is just a real low-grade food to add back into your plants. Here's something called Super Thrive. I've used this for quite a while. It's got kelp in it, and it is a real booster for most plants. Now, I store this in here because this plant food is distributed by a dropper, and here's the dropper that I use with it, and I keep this under the sink, and whenever I follow the instructions on the plant food, which here's a new one that has the instructions, you can see right here it says drop a cup, 1 drop per 4-ounce cup. So it does not take a lot of this supplement, the Super Thrive Vitamin Solution Enhanced with Kelp. It does not take a lot of this. So it's distributed by the drops for houseplants. So I always follow the instructions on all of the products that I buy to use for the plants, I really like using this. I think it really helps them. I add it to our fertilization program, and the fertilization I have is this little all-purpose plant food. You can look through the plant section and choose whatever you want to do to enhance your fertilization and your plants. Now I've just put a drop of this, 1 pump of this in each one of these watering containers. They're about the same size. I'm using these 2 today. So I just put a drop of fertilizer in there, and then I'll just add a drop per cup of the Super Thrive to my watering cans. And then I'll just go ahead and water my plants. Now I've already used the little rake so that plant water, it just absorbs right into the plant. Right into the root area, and I don't have to worry about that. And I just water according to how I always water these plants. Now there's a plant in there. Many of the plants that I have here get watered every 5 to 10 days. I try not to stick to just one basic routine because they say that's not best for your plants. Now this is a good sized plant right here. It's pretty big, and it's looking a little dry on the edges. You can see right here. It's looking a little dry. So I'm going to be sure and give it a little more water this time. I'm going to go in here and refill this water. Make sure I give it a good drink today. Now after I get the plants watered, I just go ahead. I have a plant water bottle set aside. I'm going to just put room temperature or tepid water, not real cold, not hot at all. And I'll just spray some of the little plants that need a little extra humidity. You want to be careful about misting because it can get on the furniture and everything that you've got sitting around your plants. But it's a great way to increase humidity, and even put a drop or 2 of that Thrive in, and it'll foliar feed. Thank you for letting me share with you a few things that I do to maintain my house plants around here. I wanted to just share with you. They're such a big part of my life. You know, I see them every day. They bring me joy. I love to watch them grow and to take care of them. And I wanted to share with you a few things that I do with them. I appreciate you joining me today and let me share it with you. I hope you have a great day. And like always, until next time.